I want to point out that this video isn't intended to offend anyone. It is just a video that picks fun at the stereotypical pyros that people seem to really dislike playing against in TF2. And I'm sure that you could probably say that about any class in the game, or make one of these videos for any class in the game, especially Scout and especially Sniper, which are the two classes I play the most. So please don't be offended if you main pyro. This video is just for fun. And honestly, I could probably make a video about Scout and Sniper in this type of format and, you know, say things I dislike about playing against those too. But yeah, this video is just for fun. Anyway, I'm sure everybody is familiar with the pyro already, so there's no real introduction needed there, and I'm sure at one point in your time playing TF2, you have absolutely wanted Valve to delete him, her, whatever they are from the game entirely, and trust me, I felt the same way. Let's start with the most obvious point, and that is the W and M1 pyros. I'm sure we've all seen these pyros, the guys that probably wear no hats, and all they do when they play pyro is hold down W, hold mouse 1 down, and they don't care what actually happens. They don't care if they're getting shot at, they see an enemy, they run straight at the enemy, and try and burn them to death. It's such a simple strategy, but for some reason it works really well, and I don't really know how. I, for one, am somebody who honestly quite often gets killed by a pyro who is just WM1ing at me, which is quite embarrassing and actually way more annoying when you realize it was a WM1 pyro because it's so simple. This strategy is honestly one that could easily be countered if you use your brain just a little bit, but if you're not paying attention for like 2 seconds or you're doing something else, if a WM1 pyro catches up to you in that time, it's pretty much game over, GG, you may as well kill bind because you're not getting out of there alive. No matter how much you try and shoot wildly, even if you kill the pyro, unless you're literally sitting on a health pack at that point, you're not going to win. The afterburn will probably kill you. There's been very few situations that I have gotten out of alive when a pyro gets right up in my face. For some reason, the flamethrower sometimes feels like it literally melts your health away in less than a second, which doesn't exactly always feel fair, and it is kind of insane, but I feel like maybe I get shot from somebody else and just don't notice at the same time, but either way, it doesn't feel fair, so I'm going to blame the pyros for now. That was a joke, please don't be offended about that bit. Honestly, just the damage in general on the flamethrower doesn't feel consistent at all. But that being said, a good pyro who can air blast, who can use their secondary, and sometimes even use their melee weapon, is just as annoying to deal with because they understand basic game mechanics, and you know what? That's always a dangerous thing to come across. Somebody who actually understands the game, knows how to play, very, very dangerous. But for some reason, for me, a good pyro is less annoying when you get killed by them constantly because it's like, you can't fault them. They're doing everything they're meant to be doing. They're just good at a class that counters you massively. So it's not really your fault or theirs either. Another thing that doesn't feel consistent at all with the pyro is the afterburn damage that gets dealt to you while you're on fire. Apparently in Jungle Inferno they changed it so that afterburn related more to how long you were on fire for, instead of like a base afterburn time and damage that would get dealt as soon as you got set on fire. Now, that actually sounds good, it sounds like it makes sense to me, until you realise that you can get lit on fire for less than a quarter of a second and burn for what feels like a full 5 seconds. Doesn't sound like a long time, but 5 seconds on fire in this game is quite a lot, especially if you've been lit on fire for less than a second. Honestly, I remember around Jungle Inferno time, everyone was saying that it actually felt a lot better, and I remember feeling like the afterburn was so much better than it was, but recently it feels like a load of the Jungle Inferno changes have just been like reverted, or suddenly have stopped working. Like, what? If I have been burnt by a pyro for multiple seconds, then sure, I'll take a couple of seconds of afterburn after that. That makes sense. But if the pyro clicks, barely any fire comes out of their flamethrower, and I burn for 5 seconds, part of that just doesn't really feel that fair. I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable here, or if I'm just like complaining about nothing, but to me that doesn't add up. Carrying on my point about the Jungle Inferno things that were fixed, the flame particles to the flamethrowers. Apparently they got changed so that they were more consistent across everybody's screens, no matter what your ping was or anything like that, so you could easily tell where the fire is, and the pyro had a much easier time learning their range, and enemies had an easier time seeing where to avoid standing. Again, all makes a whole lot of sense, sounds like a really good change. So please tell me how I can get set on fire from a particle that isn't even there. The amount of times I've been lit on fire by some imaginary particle that's just vibing midair is insane. Sometimes a pyro hasn't been in an area for like multiple seconds, and I walk into where the pyro was firing their flamethrower, and I just start randomly, spontaneously combusting. Like, yeah, that's completely normal. Honestly, when I'm in a good mood or I'm just chilling out playing TF2, none of this stuff matters to me at all. But when I'm getting a little bit heated, I'm sorry for the pun, but when I am getting a little bit heated and things aren't exactly going my way that day and I'm missing my shots and all of this other stuff is going on, I notice this stuff way more than I normally do, and it winds me up way more than it normally does. You ask me on a good day, and like I said, my opinion changes massively. And this is probably the same with a lot of things in TF2. So sometimes I feel like these invisible particles that still set me on fire are like the end of the world, and some days it's like, cool, whatever, I'll run and grab some health. I feel like a lot of the time I sound like I want stuff removed from the game just because I don't like it, and I want to tell you guys that that is absolutely not the case at all. Like the mini sentry video, for example, so many people were telling me I was just being salty about the fact that Scout had a counter, but I feel like the video is exactly how the mini sentry should make the Scout mains feel. Like that is the whole point of the mini sentries being in the game. There should be some things in the game that you find annoying, because if there wasn't one thing in a video game that you didn't like because it does well against you or kills you a bunch of times, then the game would be so boring. It would be like you playing a Pokemon game and you go back after beating the game to the first couple of trainers and you just like destroy them the whole time. Like that at some point becomes really unfun. I also realized that a lot of the time these types of things aren't really a fault of the game or the design of the weapon in other cases, but more because I'm an idiot and I don't actually try and deal with the situation in the way that the game intends you to. Like, I don't keep my distance from pyros. I just run at them and hope that the scattergun out-damages their flamethrower, which never goes well, and it's the opposite of what I should be doing. So a lot of this is literally just on me, and I'm not going to try and hide that. In fact, I don't think I've ever tried to hide that, even in the mini sentries video. Like, a lot of the time, it's my fault. But anyway, that is going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you leave this video a like and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'd really appreciate it. I also have a Patreon if you want to go ahead and check that out, and I stream every single day on Twitch. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching the video once again, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another one. Goodbye.